Hi everyone, we are here to bring you the Reserve Bank interest rate decision live, which will be coming up in about 30 seconds time. Remember last month the Reserve Bank lifted official interest rates for the very first time in about 11 and a half years from that record low emergency setting of 0.1% to 0.35%. Expectations are either another 0.25% increase or 0.4. We'll know in a few moments' time. One of the issues, the biggest issue that the Reserve Bank has to counter is that rising inflation rate. You would have noticed that things are costing a lot more. So one way to get those costs to come down is, ironically, by lifting interest rates. That's pretty much the basic theory as to why rates need to rise. Westpac today saying it doesn't expect that CPI, the inflation rate, to peak until the end of the year at 6.6%. It is currently at 5.1%. Anyway, the Reserve Bank decision should be coming out right now. Let's take a look at what it is saying. So the Reserve Bank Board has decided to increase interest rates more than expected. The rate has gone up by 50 basis points to 85 basis points. So the official cash rate will be rising, or has risen, to 0.85 basis points. The Reserve Bank saying that inflation in Australia has increased significantly. It's expected to increase further, as I mentioned earlier, is what Westpac said as well. Even though the Australian economy is resilient, the labour market is strong, that unemployment rate at 3.9%, which is the lowest in almost 50 years. It says one source of uncertainty about the economic outlook is how household spending evolves, given the increasing pressure on Australian households' budgets from higher inflation. Interest rates are also rising. It's noticed that house prices have fallen, but still remain 25% higher than pre-pandemic times, and that is supporting the household wealth and spending. So it's noticing that, hey, maybe Australians can afford, well, not maybe, Australians can likely afford these interest rate rises. The board also saying that it's paying close attention to the global outlook, which remains clouded by the war in Ukraine and its effects on prices for energy and agricultural commodities. It also notes, the last paragraph is always where the interesting stuff comes through. It says that today's increase is a further step in the withdrawal of the extraordinary monetary support that was in place. So the Reserve Bank saying, hey, remember when interest rates were at 0.1%? That was never meant to be there for a long time. It was an emergency level. It notes that the resilience of the economy and the higher inflation mean that this extraordinary support is no longer needed. Given the current inflationary pressures on the economy and the very low level of interest rates still, that's why it decided to lift rates by 50 basis points. And again, the board expects to take further steps in the process of normalising monetary conditions in Australia over the months ahead. The size and timing of future interest rates will be guided by the incoming data and the board's assessment of the outlook for inflation and the labour market. So it's essentially saying, hey, interest rates will rise. We will have all the details on SBS World News tonight, including what it means for your mortgage. To be honest, it actually caught me off guard because most people were saying that the official cash rate will rise by 25 basis points or 40 basis points. So I actually had slides prepared for what it means for those two, not 50. So it'll be interesting to see what it means for the market. Actually, I can tell you right now, because the Australian share market was at 7141. It's actually fallen quite significantly since the RBA decision, which implies even the market was taken by surprise. One of the reasons why the RBA may be lifting interest rates a little bit stronger than expected here is because it's actually happening around the world. Around the world, other central banks are lifting interest rates pretty hard and early to try, to combat inflation, to bring those consumer prices down. But it also means if it goes hard early now, it then also has scope to either see interest rates peak earlier than expected, or it gives it scope to pull interest rates back down again if it's overshot. The Australian dollar is currently trading at 72.3, again, up a lot more. It was at 71.8. So what the market is telling us is the level of this increase is actually coming out as a surprise. So the next thing will be to see what it means for house prices and for sentiment in the housing market as well. We'll have all of those details on SBS World News tonight at 6:30. Join us then. This SBS on the Money stream is provided for informational purposes only. The content in this stream should not be understood as constituting advice or a recommendation. It is not personal advice and it does not consider your personal circumstances or objectives. You should contact a licensed professional before making any financial decisions.